James Rodríguez is a player out of time who brings his best to international stage on Monday. Rayo Vallecano released James Rodríguez on a free transfer. It hadn't been much of a stay. In 4.5 months at the club, he managed 136 minutes of league football. Only once did he start in La Liga. Rodríguez is 33 now. Since he left Everton in 2021, he has started just 37 league games and scored only 10 goals. This is the 6th season in a row in which he has been released on a free transfer, as he has drifted from Real Madrid to the team currently 12th in the table, via Qatar, Greece and Brazil. The sense is of a waning career nearing its end. And yet in those 3.5 years since his last game for Everton, Rodríguez has played 32 times for Colombia. While at Rayo, he has played 374 international minutes. True, he doesn't often last a full game, but there are few other indications of decline. As Colombia reached the final of last year's Copa America, he was named player of the tournament. His is a career that seems to run on two parallel tracks. At club level he is a fading star, a player who perhaps never quite lived up to his potential. But at international level, while in the autumn of his career, he remains a maestro. While many players seem to resent international duty, it feels that, for Rodríguez, club football is a means to an end, a way of securing a wage and top-class training facilities to keep him sharp for the real business of playing for Colombia. It has increasingly come to seem that he is a player out of time. Imagine if Rodríguez had been born not in 1991 but 1961. He could have been one of those great playmakers of the late 80s and early 90s, feeding 2 or 3 forwards who ran off him, protected by a midfield shield behind. There would have been no expectation on him to track back and chase and press. He could have been a Ricardo Bochini, a Dragan Stojkovic, a Teofil Abega. That said, if he had been, he would have been contesting his place in the Colombia national team with Carlos Valderrama, and doing so at a time when the great Pacho Maturana was introducing pressing, his own interpretation of the Dutch approach, Fordism. As systems play used to be dismissed in South America, to Colombian football, international football increasingly feels a different form of the game from the club game, not as sophisticated, not as precise or as guided by complex data and pressing schema, perhaps not such high quality, but no less appealing as a result. It remains a world less governed by systems, in which individuals can shine, a world in which it's still the players who can be heroes, rather than executives and sporting directors, boffins and set-piece coaches, a world in which Lionel Messi can still fulfill his destiny by winning a World Cup almost single-handed. Even at the Copa America, Rodríguez wasn't operating as a classic number 10. He played on the right, drifting infield into more central positions behind Johan Cordoba and Luis Diaz, with Daniel Muñoz offering width from right back, until he was suspended for the final, which was lost, and protection offered by 3 mobile and aggressive midfielders. But as with Messi at the World Cup, that was enough. It's not that Rodríguez never involves himself in defensive actions. He actually made 9 interceptions and tackles in the tournament, which is 9 more than Messi. More that he cannot be relied upon to do so, that his search for the space from which he can expose the opposition's vulnerabilities means he cannot always diligently be covering the opposing full-back. His own team must compromise to cover, and while it's not impossible at club level, it's far easier to accommodate an unreliable defensive presence in the more basic environment of international football. For Rayo this season, Rodríguez made a total of 4 tackles and interceptions, fewer than he did in a single Copa America group game against Brazil, and yet for all but Colombians, the sense must be of a talent unfulfilled. I confess a bias here. I was at the Maracana in the 2014 World Cup when, 25 yards from goal, he took Alvaro Pereira's header on his chest, turned and volleyed a shot in off the underside of the crossbar to give Colombia the lead against Uruguay. Such things are subjective, of course, and much is down to the precise angle from which you see it and your state of mind at the time, but it's probably the best goal I've ever seen live. Rodríguez was 22 and playing for Monaco. He had already won 3 league titles with Porto and inspired Banfield to their only Argentinian title, something they couldn't quite manage even when they supposedly had the backing of Evita Perón. He won the Golden Boot at that World Cup and seemed a genuine world star in the making. Later that summer he joined Real Madrid but, distrusted by Rafa Benitez then Zinedine Zidane, has never been quite the same since. When he joined Everton in 2020, I confess I thought it a good move. How could you not want to see a player of such obvious quality? If a club are not going to win titles, let it at least be fun, and for 4 or 5 games Everton were. He scored in a 5-2 win over West Brom, and got 2 in a 4-2 win over Brighton. And then the drift began. He became an intermittent presence, a frustration, a costly embellishment they couldn't really afford. Perhaps in a better organized club, with a more coherent squad around him, But that's a conversation that's been going on for a decade. He needs a team built for him and, while Colombia can do that, club sides can't. And so Rodríguez lingers, a beautiful relic of an earlier age. The only hope that he can keep himself going another 18 months so we get to see him once more for Colombia on the stage that suits him best, the World Cup. Kyle Walker asks to leave Manchester City in search of a move abroad. Kyle Walker has asked to explore the possibility of a move abroad, a decision potentially ending 7 supremely successful years at Manchester City for the captain. With Milan understood to be interested in the 34-year-old, Pep Guardiola left Walker out of Saturday's 8-0 FA Cup third-round win against Salford City. When asked why he revealed the request, "It's not easy for me to say because I shouldn't tell, but he's not here," the manager said. 2 days ago, Kyle asked to explore the options to play abroad. He asked, too, after the treble in 2023. Bayern Munich wanted him, but the offer was not good enough. "We cannot understand the club's success over the past years without Kyle. It's impossible." Walker made his request to Txiki Begiristain, City's sporting director. "He went to Txiki," said Guardiola. "I left him out for that reason. I prefer to play other players whose mind is here. Maybe I'm wrong, but I still am pretty convinced that there's no one in our job that can play their best. If they don't want to be here, can't perform. Maybe I'm not right," he asked to explore. "It doesn't mean it's going to happen because you never know. I respect him a lot because I'm more than grateful for what he has done for us since he has been here many years. He's been important too, for the national team." He said, "I want to explore my mind and my heart," says this. "But I don't know what's going to happen. Should no move occur imminently, whether Walker plays for City while the window remains open remains to be seen." His previous appearance was as a substitute in the 4-1 Premier League victory over West Ham at the Etihad last weekend. Walker's decision to seek a club abroad will alert numerous suitors on the continent and perhaps in Saudi Arabia and the US. The defender's age plus his contract running only until the summer of 2026 means his transfer fee will be modest. Since joining from Tottenham in July 2017 for £45 million, Walker has won 6 Premier League titles, the Champions League, 2 FA Cups, 4 League Cups, the UEFA Super Cup and the Club World Cup. He managed 136 minutes of league football. Only once did he start in La Liga. Rodríguez is 33 now. Since he left Everton in 2021, he has started just 37 league games and scored only 10 goals. This is the 6th season in a row in which he has been released on a free transfer as he has drifted from Real Madrid to the team currently 12th in the table, via Qatar, Greece and Brazil. The sense is of a waning career nearing its end. And yet in those 3.5 years since his last game for Everton, Rodríguez has played 32 times for Colombia. While at Rayo, he has played 374 international minutes. True, he doesn't often last a full game, but there are few other indications of decline. As Colombia reached the final of last year's Copa America, he was named player of the tournament. His is a career that seems to run on 2 parallel tracks. At club level he is a fading star, a player who perhaps never quite lived up to his potential. But at international level, while in the autumn of his career, he remains a maestro. While many players seem to resent international duty,